Hello, and welcome to the Faith and Finances Certification course. I'm Geraldine Sanders from the Chalmers Center. Throughout this training course, I'll be joined by some friends who have experience leading faith and finances at the churches and nonprofits around the U.S. where they serve. These lead trainers work with Chalmers as coaches to help other facilitators launch and grow their faith and finances ministries.
We are so excited to have you join our Faith and Finances community. Over the past few years, we've been blessed to see God use people like you to address poverty in their own communities.
Whether your group is based at a church or working together at a Christian nonprofit, we believe that Faith and Finances can help your ministry develop transformational relationships.
One thing you should know right up front is that learning happens best in community. It's true for faith and finance participants, and it's true for the future leaders of faith and finances.
So, while you may be watching this video by yourself, please know that each session in this training will move you towards conversations, discussions, and actions to be taken with others. A successful faith and finance ministry takes a team effort.
So our goal is to help your team all get on the same page. Your group may be 2 people or 10, but you definitely need some different people playing a few different roles. For this training, we'll think of this as your core team.
If you have started making some connections with neighbors who are struggling financially, and if you're joined by some other like-minded people, then you're in the right place.
We will dive into how God's people are called to a countercultural vision of human flourishing.
In God's kingdom, financial success isn't equal to the American dream of upward mobility.
We'll unpack these goals for Faith and Finances communities, and we may get uncomfortable as we turn the mirror on ourselves a bit.
And finally, we will work on integrating some best practices of adult education with low-income learners. So if you're up for the adventure, let's dive in.
Today, we're going to hear from my friend Matt. Matt is a leader at his church in downtown Atlanta. He has seen some significant changes happen as a result of faith and finances. In fact, we'd like to introduce you to one of our favorite graduates from Matt's church, Maurice.
I was doing 5 years of prison time out in Phoenix, Arizona. Come out, went to a year's discipleship program in Phoenix. Graduated from it, came home. So I came home and I was homeless and found the shelter and stayed there for 2 years. Wasn't using or nothing anymore. And I knew I needed the spiritual house. I needed a church. So my first week there, I walked up to Courtney, and that's how I found North Avenue. I was one of the first sign up. It spoke right to me where I was. They simplified it. They was there to answer any questions, and I asked a lot of them. And before the class was over, I already had an emergency fund going. I had opened a savings account. They showed me how to go about getting my credit straight. I didn't have none before Faith and Finance, and now I have a 768 rating. 3 years ago, I had no bank account, no credit cards, no sense of security financially, even though I still had peace. And I knew God was at work. From then to now, I got a vehicle, man. I got a truck that I own. I pay the insurance. I have a maintenance fund for that truck. I have a blow fund for some things of personal nature that I would like to have. I got financial security. I've been more socially connected through personal relationships through it. Faith and Finance has definitely made a difference in my life and in my world. Gave me hope. It's a part of me being free. Without it, we can speculate, but I don't want to speculate would I have been here and what would have happened without it. I know what happened with it.
Yep, that's my buddy Maurice. Now you might think from looking at this video that this was a quick process, or maybe that it just happened because I met with Maurice one-on-one, like a financial advisor. But it was actually much slower and more involved than that. The context where I serve, North Avenue Presbyterian Church, has been walking alongside the materially poor for over 20 years. Now, to be honest, in the beginning, we did it in ways that were clumsy and weren't always the most helpful. It started with an afternoon service at 1 p.m. when most congregants had already gone home. But we learned along the way it was important to develop real reciprocal relationships. Some years later, we started a Sunday school class called the Cup Ministry. This was a class that used adult learning methodology to help our friends from the streets dig deeper into the sermon. We also started worshiping together at our contemporary service and added a meal that happened after the Sunday school class, where people of low income, middle income, and high income all ate lunch together, with each group participating in ways that made sense for them. Those who were materially poor paid $1 for a meal, while those who were in the middle and upper class paid $8 for the meal. By the time we heard about faith and finances, we thought it might be a great tool for us to add to our relational toolbox with our friends who are materially poor. When I went through training, I thought of a lot of my friends who were living on the margins. One who kept coming to mind was my friend Maurice. And that's because Maurice had been continually asking, how might he be able to grow in his own journey? Maurice initiated this journey, and when we found Faith and Finances, we thought this might be the helpful tool to walk together and take that next step. Maurice and 11 others were part of the first class of Faith and Finances that we offered at North Avenue. And there was some very strong community that formed during that time. The community may have begun in week 1 of Faith and Finances, but it didn't end at graduation. In fact, some of the people who served in that class as volunteers and some who graduated from that class are still friends today, working side by side for God's kingdom within our church.
I love this story. The biggest success here isn't Maurice's stellar credit rating or his truck or his savings account. The most amazing transformation is that Maurice has become so embedded and embraced at North Avenue Presbyterian that he serves as a deacon there. He now has a job advising the city on homeless initiatives they've undertaken. And in that official role, he's helping his church negotiate those changes happening in their city. How does that happen?
Before we tried Faith and Finances at North Avenue, we had tried some other out-of-the-box materials, and they did not work as well for us. This is because Faith and Finances is a very unique curriculum. First, it draws out and builds on the assets that adult learners already bring to the table. It says to our materially poor friends, the experiences you've had in life are actually the foundational blocks for learning. It also met our low-income learners at their level by using an informal and interactive style. We've found that it's participatory, it's hands-on, it's fun, and it's never passive. Finally, Faith and Finances was a great theological match for our church. You see, it emphasizes that the marginalized are invited to the center of the community, while the center of the community is invited to follow Jesus to the margins. And there, on the margins and in the center, we find that our stories are bound together in the greater story of Jesus' gospel kingdom that he is building across socioeconomic differences. Faith and Finances has brought some important changes to how we do body life at North Avenue Presbyterian Church. You see, we no longer see our materially poor friends as projects that need to be fixed or changed in some way. Rather, we see that God is knitting our stories together, stories of mutuality. And when that happens, something small but perceptible changes. Those who were once on the margins find that they actually have a place in the life of the church, both in worship, participation, and now, for us, even in leadership.
Let's be clear, Maurice is one in a million. So we're not promising all your grads will be just like him. Maurice has his own story because God has his hand on that man's life. Maurice had done the hard work of recovery, and he was looking for a church to call home. God orchestrated his life to get him where he was supposed to be. There are also people in your community who are trapped in poverty and are ready to make some changes. God will have them on their own journey. The question is whether your ministry will be ready to receive and serve them in a way that meets them where they are. Sometimes people think that starting a financial education ministry is about having accountants giving all the right answers. But Faith and Finances takes a different approach. Yes, you do need a facilitator to lead the class each week. But in order to really flourish, you also need some hosts and hostesses who know how to set a good table and make people feel welcome. You need encouragers to serve as allies, coming to the class each week with participants. You need those detail-oriented people who are going to remember to set up the chairs and text out reminders. So friends, as you embark on this certification process, we invite you to think about your core team and the neighbors that you want to invite to your proverbial table.